Welcome everybody, I'm Alexander Linz, head of content of watchadvisor.com, and today I'm welcoming you from Lucerne, the heart of Switzerland, the Lake Lucerne, and as they call him here in Switzerland, the Vierwaldstätter See. And the purpose of being here is because I'm not going to show you any novelties today. You know that we're famous for doing this and we always try to bring you those novelties as one of the first to your screens. Today I decided to do something different, and with the help of Embassy, who is a famous jeweler who is based here in Lucerne, also has a store in Zurich. And what I'm going to do is we have chosen some GMT or traveling watches that show you a second zone time, and we will compare those watches and show you the differences, so you will be able to discover different brands and different executions of such watches. Enjoy what we're going to do right now. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell to get our latest notifications. 6 watches that do represent watches you would probably wear when you are traveling or when you are someone who is not always at home and you need to change a lot of zone times. The watches you see on the tray here do represent all the category of, let's say, UTC, GMT, traveling watches, second zone time, second time zone, whatever you call them. I did a choice by purpose. So one might say, okay, why is there no Rolex GMT? Why is there not a Omega this or whatever? I wanted to show you some different watches because we all know how a Rolex GMT looks, like an Omega GMT might look, but probably you don't know these watches. And they do also give you a second zone time indication when you travel. And it was my intention to get a little bit, let's say, out of the box, look out of the box, and show you watches you probably not have seen before. The first watch, let me start with the Tudor GMT Black Bay with that blue and red bezel. A watch that could be an alternative if you are looking for a Rolex and you don't get it because it is sold out for the next years, or you just don't want to spend so much money, or you want to distinguish yourself by wearing a watch that is not so popular on the wrist. That could be a nice idea. The Tudor is one of my favorites when I saw it last time. Then we have the Hublot Big Bang Unico GMT. You are asking yourself, why are the straps not attached? Because the purpose was, of course, to show you quickly also this one-click system. There's a one-click system. I will show you the details just right after this. And now, this is something I'm very proud of, thanks to Embassy once again, because this is a watch that is not yet on the markets, but they were able to organize it from Bulgari, from the headquarters. This is still not a watch that is available, but will be available very soon. That's the new world record watch, a chronograph watch they introduced during Basel World. They set a new world record in thinness. That's an extremely thin watch, features an automatic movement. It's a chronograph, and of course, and because Bulgari said, okay, we can add another function, there's a push piece here. If you push it, then you will be able to move and advance the hour hand in 1 hour steps, and you will of course have here, there is a little display indicated your home time. It's set to 12 o'clock. The same with the IWC Spitfire time zone. The watch is not yet on the market, so I'm very happy to be able to show you the watch. This is an alternative also when you travel, very easy to use. There is a bezel, you push down the bezel, and by pushing down the bezel you will be able to manipulate the watch. The watch will not stop, you will not lose the seconds, you will not lose, of course, the correctly indicated minutes, but by pushing down the bezel you will be able to move the hour hand and to go forward and backward. The watch is set to Paris summertime here, and I will show you in detail just afterwards how the time zoner, Spitfire time zoner works. And if you say to yourself, okay, I don't need a sports watch, I am more an elegant type, I want a watch that I can wear under my sleeve of the shirt, I want to look at what I want, an elegant, I want to invest more money, but I don't want to think about the time changes and the differences in between time zones. The Lange und Söhne Lange 1 Zeitzone time zone watch is something that is very, very interesting. And if you are a big fan of Breguet, of the tradition, I love these watches because the watches show the entire technique. You see the balance wheel, everything is brought to the dial. That's like cinema on the wrist. I always say the tradition of Breguet is a watch I very much enjoy. It's a very technical watch, and at the same time it's a very traditional Breguet watch because everything what is typical for Breguet is applied. You have these wonderful engine-turned guilloche dials and so on, and you see many of Breguet's inventions also in there. But the watch also features 2 dials, and you have the possibility to offset one of the dials when you travel. And of course, because it's an intelligent watch, there is a day and night indication telling you if it's day or night. So the Tudor GMT offers the same easy-to-use technology or invention Rolex offers in all its GMT watches. As you know, Tudor is the little sister of Rolex, and especially for this GMT Tudor Black Bay with that blue and red bezel, they invented an own movement, an automatic movement. That's an in-house movement. It has been conceived and is manufactured from Tudor, so it's not an ETA movement, it's nothing they sourced from outside. And we do also have to name the movement is equipped with a silicone hairspring offering very good accuracy, and the silicone hairspring of course is anti-magnetic, so helps a lot to protect the watch and to keep it very accurate. The watch is, as it is also mentioned on the dial, chronometer, officially chronometer certified by the Swiss COSC, the independent chronometry testing offices here in Switzerland, COSC certified. So now let me quickly show you. The crown is of course protected by screwing it down for more waterproofness. There's a first position. You can wind the watch in case you need to do that. Normally you don't, because when you wear it, it is an automatic movement. You don't have the need of winding it. So when you travel, the watch is synchronized. It's 12:44 here in Lucerne. I am at Embassy in Lucerne. It's 12:45, and you can see the little red arrow here. Just a little red arrow points on the bezel also at 12:45, almost 1300. It's not an arrow, it's a hand, so it's really a 24-hour hand that is on the dial. And now if you travel, and if for instance we go to New York, 6 hours time differences, I take an easy destination. We have daylight saving time in both cities. You see already what I'm doing. You have the possibility to move the hour hand in 1 hour steps. So we go back to New York, 6 hours back. There we go. That's the time in New York. Very easy. Then you pull the crown, you screw it, the watch is waterproof, and nothing has happened. Of course, the second hand did not stop. Of course, the minute hand continued to show the correct time, because there's no need of stopping the watch. And if you ever get a GMT, UTC, second time zone, whatever the watch is called, watch in your hands, when you pull out the crown, the watch stops. The second stop in the minutes, of course, then would also stop. This is crap. There's no use to buy such a watch because it will not help you. The easy way of functioning, that's how a watch should be. So let's assume we go back now to Lucerne. We turn it, you see, it's very easy. And to synchronize it, you go in the second position, and now you will see, if I'm synchronizing, you see that the red 24-hour hand is moving with, you see, 12 o'clock, so we've indicated 12 o'clock also on the red bezel. Now we go back to 11 o'clock, and you see that the red second hand is pointing at 11 o'clock, and so this is how you synchronize the watch when you're at home. And then when you travel, I go back to Lucerne, about 12:45 was the time. There we go. And I want to show you something else that's very good. I have to go back in the first position. Here we are. And the date, of course, is always linked. Now we are at 11 o'clock, and that's, you have seen, jump to the 23rd. And if you go back the date will go back to the 22nd. So the date is of course linked to the main hour hand, to our local time, and not to our home time that is pointed with the red snowflake hand, as they call them at Tudor, the snowflake hand. The Hublot Big Bang Unico GMT is based on the Unico chronograph movement that has been conceived and is manufactured internally by Hublot in the factory in Nyon, close to Geneva. And since the movement is based on a chronograph caliber, you also have those typical push pieces here. Start, you normally use for start, stop, and then the other one for reset. In this case, these two push pieces will move forward and backward the hour hand. I'm just going to show it to you easily, you see. So this is what you do with the push pieces, and the other one, move it back. So that's also a fully functional GMT. I set it by purpose to some minutes before 12 o'clock to be able to show you the second arrow that is here. You see that little point here shows 1 o'clock on the basal. You have a basal here that shows 12 hours, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And to be able to distinguish if it is day and night, you have this ring inside the watch. It's the one side of the ring is dark and it's indicated night here, night. And the other side of the ring is in a bright color, in a metallic look, and this is of course day, and it's day now, it's 12:45. So the hand indicating the second zone time points at 1 o'clock, and it's day of course. So, and if you travel, let's assume we are synchronizing the watch, going back to the local time here in Lucerne. Oops, wrong direction. There we go. So assuming now it's 1 o'clock, and as I did just before with the GMT, the Tudor GMT, we're traveling to New York. That means we have to go back 6 hours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's 7 o'clock in the morning almost in New York, you see. So we have indicated 7 o'clock, and of course the arrow from the 24-hour hand, or in this case it's a double 12-hour hand, still pointing at 1 o'clock, so you can easily read your home time from the dial without thinking if you have to deduct or add 6, 5, 4, whatever hours. So it's very easy to use, and if you go back and if you need to change your time zone again, so you just use those push pieces that are normally belong to the chronograph movement, and I told you it's the Unico movement. They transformed the chronograph movement to show the second zone time, or the time in a time zone somewhere. So we go back, you see it's again synchronized, 1 o'clock here in Lucerne at Embassy, and the watch is again synchronized. So this is a watch I'm very proud of being able to show you already now. When you have been following our work at Watch Advisor on our YouTube channel, you probably have seen the watch already in our coverage of Basel World. We showed you this ultra thin, tremendous, beautifully looking, designed Octo Finissimo chronograph. It's a new world record they have achieved with that watch. It's a very, very, very thin watch. Look, it's incredible. And in this very thin titanium case, you have an automatic chronograph movement, also giving you the possibility to indicate a second zone time. And what you see is the movement, and please do excuse first of all, this red dot here and this scratch. This is not a watch that, of course, is meant to be sold. This is still a watch out of the Basel World collections. We got it from Bulgari. The watch is not yet in the retail, so please excuse us showing you a watch that is a little bit damaged here. But of course, when you buy the watch, this will not be part of it, of course. So then you see here the peripheral rotor. You see it here and here. There is a rotor, and that moves on the outside of the movement. So you have maximum visibility on the movement, and the rotor is not covering anything. And since the attempt of Bulgari was to create the thinnest ever manufactured chronograph movement, the rotor could have by no means covered the entire movement, because this would have added thickness, and this was not the purpose. So you see that the rotor is on the outside of the movement. There you go, on the outside of the movement. Then here is the place or the area where the rotor is turning, and by turning, when you move your hand, it is delivering energy to the barrel, and the barrel then is the source where the energy is brought to the movement. So this is a little explanation of that movement, and once again, please excuse us for this little damage here and the red spot. That's not meant to be there, but since this is not yet a watch that has been delivered to the retail, I dare to show you the watch. It is 1 o'clock here in Lucerne at Embassy, and when I start the chronograph, zack, start, stop. Here's the start, stop pusher. Down there is the reset pusher. Of course, I will stop it and I will use the reset. You see, it jumped back. And the watch also features another push piece, and that is located here at 9 o'clock. And now the fantastic thing is, and I will show you after I just explained you the dials, you have the running seconds. So you see that the watch is running, hand is approaching 60 seconds, and down here at 6 o'clock you have a 30 minutes counter. When you use the chronograph, you can read how many minutes you have been using the chronograph. So for all purposes, when you cook eggs, when you want to boil eggs, or you want to make some tea, or you need it for spaghetti, whatever, that's the perfect elegant chronograph. And there's one little sub-dial left. This is this one, and you see that there is indicated there is a 24-hour indication, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 and 24. And of course, the hand on the dial now points to 1 o'clock, because it is 1 o'clock here in Lucerne. And when you are traveling and you need to readjust the watch because you have been traveling, let's say, as we did with the watches before, to New York, the thing you do is you use the push piece here, you press the button, you correct. There we go. These are the 6 hours of time difference. There is no date indication, so you don't need to know if you are at night or day. You just push this push piece as often until you get your 6 hours of difference, and you see it's indicated we are at 7 o'clock in the morning, New York, and still the time in Lucerne is 1 o'clock. Very easy to use and very clever and very smart, and a very beautiful design, by the way. I am always telling the story. Every decade has its iconic design, and I want to say and shout out loud here, this decade is the decade of the Bulgari Octo Finissimo. They have really invented a new design. They dared, and this design is really mind-blowing. It's a beautiful watch, ultra thin, and they are breaking each year the record by presenting a new world record in thinness. This year it was a chronograph, as I just told you, with a peripheral rotor and a movement, a completely manufactured movement by Bulgari. And the watch features, and this is why we have it in our selection of GMT or second zone time zone watches, features also the possibility of indicating your home time when you are traveling. This is the Spitfire time zoner from IWC Schaffhausen that was presented at the SIHH in January. We featured the watch already in the first video we taped early before the SIHH. So the watch is a limited series of 250 pieces. The watch is dedicated for the adventure. IWC has started with a Spitfire plane, and the Spitfire plane will fly around the world, and this is the watch the pilots will wear on their wrists while they are flying the Spitfire once around the world. That's a pretty of an adventure, flying a World War II Spitfire round the world. So the Spitfire watch is very easy to use in terms of when you are traveling, and this is what it was meant to be. It is not, and I have to say this clearly, not a watch that will indicate you a second zone time. The watch is indicating local time, But what is very easy to use is the bezel. And what the bezel is doing, I will show you right away. First of all, I want to say you set the watch to Paris time, because we are in the Paris time zone here in Luzern. And you can see there is a second little spot where it is indicated S, like summertime, daylight saving time. And we are correctly now at the daylight saving time dot on the bezel, and it is 1 o'clock and 12 minutes here in Lucerne. So you can also see these by the 24-hour indication on the picture here. So what is now special on a watch is that you don't need to unscrew a crown when you want to manipulate or when you want to change the time zone. There's no need to unscrew this wonderful big crown that is so typical for the pilots' watches. The big crown comes from the days when the pilots wore those watches around their leather jackets to protect them from heat, or not heat, but probably cold. That's the better way. And to be able to manipulate the watches with some gloves, as I'm wearing them today. The big crowns were meant to be on the watches, so you could easily manipulate them. But you don't need to unscrew anything here. The only thing you do is you push down the bezel, as you can see. You push it down, and then you can change the settings of the watch. So we're doing the same thing as we do with all the other watches. Before, we are going back to New York, and I push down and I go back 6 hours. You see, very easy. It's 7 o'clock. And of course, there we go. Up there we have New York, and since there is daylight saving time in both cities, in Lucerne and New York, you will also see that little S on the left side of the New York indication here on the bezel. That tells you that there is daylight saving time, and we have easily changed the time for 6 hours, and you see correctly indicated on your 24-hour scale that it is 6 o'clock in the morning, and of course 7 o'clock in the morning, and of course not in the evening. So there's no indication of a second zone time, but the watch is so easy to use if you're traveling, if you're a pilot. That would be, I would say, the best use for a pilot. If the pilot is sitting in his plane and he's going over the different time zones, and if he needs to adjust the watch, just by pulling down the bezel, turn it, and I'm now back in Lucerne. Nothing else to do. The seconds do not stop. The hours are still indicated correctly. So that's how it is meant to be. And if you are changing the date, and if you are traveling, and if you go forward, and you will see one interesting thing, and this is what I very much like. The date, of course, is also linked to the mechanism. Now watch. It is the 23rd. So the next watch I'm showing you is, of course, a watch that is in another segment. We are now in the luxury high-end segment. Lange Söhne, I would compare Lange Söhne, the quality and the make of Lange Söhne, to a Patek Philippe, of course. So price-wise, we are now, of course, in another league. And the Lange Söhne Lange 1 Zeitzone, Lange 1 time zone watch is a very particular watch. First of all, it has a wonderfully executed movement. A lot of efforts have been done to decorate the watch, and you can also see here this has been decorated by hand, of course. And do you see the decorations of the Glashütter Streifenschliff? You see a lot of gold chatons here. They're screwed in those. They are screwed, they are not pressed into the main plate. And the typical design of the Lange Söhne three-quarter of the three-quarter plates. So three-quarter of the movement is covered by the main plate. That's a typical Lange Söhne design you will see on different of their watches. So you have a main dial that is indicating you the local time if you want, and you have a second dial, and the second dial is also showing, because the watches, both dials have been synchronized from me before, and both dials are showing the same time. What you have here on the outer ring of the dial are the 24 major cities of the 24 time zones we have here on our little Earth. the major time zones. There are, of course, more time zones. Some have half hours deviations, a quarter, 15 minutes deviations, but they are not shown here, and the watch is not able to show this. So the watch will show you the 24 major time zones, and it is synchronized. There is a little arrow here at the position of 5 o'clock indicating the city of Berlin. Berlin. Why Berlin? Because we are in the time zone of Berlin. In Paris, we are in the time zone of Paris, of course, but since this is a German watch, they decided to put Berlin instead of Paris. Normally you should read here GMT London, then Paris, and so on, Beirut, and so on, blah, blah, blah. Now, the nice thing is also that you have a big date indication here. It's wonderful to have a big date indication because these watches offer you the possibility to read the date immediately from the dial without using your reading glasses, just in case you need to wear some already. And I would assume those who are able to buy such a watch will probably need reading glasses, because when you are able to afford such a watch, you probably are not young anymore. It's pretty expensive, this I want to say already now. So what happens now if we are traveling? We have 2 push pieces. There's one here and there's one here. This push piece, when you push it, will always advance the date. And this push piece, when I push it, will advance this hour, this little clock or little dial, sub-dial, and you can use it then as your home time when you leave the time zone or the zone time where we are in the moment. So watch, we are again assuming to travel to New York as we did with all the other watches before. And you see, every time I push, the watch will move forward. And the only thing I have to do is I have to push as often as we are approaching New York, and this will happen now. We have arrived in New York, there where we first saw Berlin. We now have indicated New York. New York. Berlin has moved up here, has nothing to say, it's just where it's located. But what we have is the fact it's 1:30 in Lucerne, and of course 7:30 in the morning in New York. If it's morning or evening, we will be able to see here, this little arrow will point at the brighter zone, brighter part of the dial, and so it's indicating day and not night. And you will also have the same here. There's a little 24 hours indication telling you that the arrow points at the brighter side or the brighter part of this indication, so it's day. The little sub-dial here is the running second, also to be mentioned, and this is the easy way how to use the Lange Söhne when you travel. So now you read your home time here and your local time here. New York, very easy, 7:30 in the morning, and at home 1:30 in the afternoon. Last but not least, a watch I personally very much like, because I like the Breguet type of tradition. It's called Breguet Tradition GMT, and the exact name of the watch is Breguet Tradition 7067. And if you want to add GMT, you may add GMT. What I like on this watch is that Breguet, with the tradition watches, are bringing back, or have been bringing back, a style of pocket watches Breguet has been manufacturing in the time being. You know that Breguet invented the tourbillon in 1795. In 1801, he patented the tourbillon, and Breguet was responsible for a lot of inventions in the watches. And his les montres à souscription, the watches where people needed to already give some money before they could buy them, so they were financing Breguet. They had this design, and these montres à souscription, the type of pocket watches, he was bringing really the entire architecture, so everything was visible. And it's the same here. You see the balance wheel here, very nice, and you have 2 dials. There's one guilloché engine turned dial that gives you 1 time zone, and this is a second dial where you can indicate a second time zone, very easily readable and very logical, because you have 2 of them. You can either set this as home time or local time. It's you to decide, or the engine turn guilloché dial. It's you decide. So you see parts of the movement from the back, and important thing I wanted to show you here is a power reserve indicator. You see here there is a little black area that is thicker and getting thinner, and there is a little nose, a little pointer that actually is pointing at almost fully wound. So you will see that here is a little pointer, and the pointer shows that the watch is almost fully wound. It's a hand wound movement, so you will have to wind it by using the crown. There's no rotor, there's nothing that will wind the watch while you're wearing it. So the push piece at 11 o'clock here, if you have opened it, it's a push piece that can be protected for incidentally pushing on it. You can screw it and then it is protected. If you use the push piece here and if you push, you will see that the hand on the guilloche engine turned dial will start to move in 1 hour steps. So if you're traveling to New York, as I already explained you before, we have a 6-hour time difference. What you do, you push, you come at 7 and something. We are a local time here in Lucerne is 1:33 and local time in New York is 7:33 in the morning, and easily to see the 24 hours indication that is linked to this dial is still showing you that we are at home in your local time, your home time, sorry, local time is here, home time is here. So your home time is still, it's during the day and not at night. And this is now 7 o'clock in the morning. Of course, you would know, because if you are in New York, you would look out of the window and you would know that you are in the morning and not in the evening, or you would know that it is day and not night. But if you are traveling and if it's getting dark at home and if the day is over, this little hand will move into the dark area and show you that it is already night at home. Very nice, very easy to use, very clever, and still the typical architecture of a Breguet tradition, showing the entire, or let's say the main parts of the movement, like the balance wheel here. You see it oscillating, very nice. So whenever you look at your dial, it's like a little film that is shown to you. It's like, I always call these watches, these Breguet watches, big cinema on the wrist. So guys, it's time to say goodbye here from Lucerne in Switzerland, from the Lake of Lucerne. Behind you see the famous Chapel Bridge that was built in 1365. And I do also need to say thank you very much to Embassy. 5 stores here in Lucerne, 1 store in Zurich. Embassy helped us out. They made it possible that we could film all these watches that you have just seen on your screens and that we were able to compare them. If you go to Embassy, tell them that you have seen those videos on YouTube, watchadvisor.com, and they will invite you to what they call here a cupli. That's a glass of champagne. Ask for a cupli, you will get your cupli and enjoy the watches at Embassy here in Lucerne. And thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed what we have been doing, and I'm very glad that we could bring those watches to you. Thank you very much again. If you like what we are doing, as always, you know what I'm saying now, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to like our videos. Of course, tell your friends and neighbors what we're doing. And if you have any comments to make, use the comment section just here underneath, and I will be more than happy to answer you as always. Bye-bye from Lucerne in Switzerland. Bye, guys.